Hey guys, Aaron here. I have a first ever watch review to do here on my channel. I'm kind of in the process of diversifying some of the things that I talk about, and this is one of the first steps. But what I want to talk about today is the Omega Speedmaster Professional, the 357050, which is the Moonwatch model, which has been replaced now by a watch with a longer reference number that is effectively the same watch, just with a different packaging and a few more accessories that come with it, as well as a higher price tag. So before we get too far into reviewing this, I want to talk about a little bit of history. And I have written up some notes. I want to kind of make these reviews a little more concise, and I find that having some talking points makes that a whole lot easier. So first things first, this watch has been involved in a handful of things that are very significant in our history. It's called the Moonwatch. So as I'm sure you know, in 1969 when we landed on the moon, this was the watch that was on not Neil Armstrong's wrist, but rather, let me get these laid out here, Buzz Aldrin, who was the second man on the moon. But this watch was also used by Ralph Plastade, who was the first man to locate the geographic North Pole. Jim Lovell, Jack Swigert, and Fred Hazy were the first, or not the first, but used the 1861 caliber movement to time their critical 14-second burn during their Apollo 13 mission, to complete their return trajectory burn around the moon back to the Earth when the Apollo 13 accident occurred. In addition to that, in 1975, a team of Russian cosmonauts and a team of American astronauts completed the first delicate rendezvous mid-orbit of two-man spacecraft. Now, we had rendezvoused and docked with unmanned modules, the command module and the lunar module, during the Apollo missions, but this was the first time that two-man spacecraft were able to meet up and dock in orbit. And that team was wearing Speedmasters as well. Some of the cosmonauts were too. And then this watch has been used in a number of other things in even more recent history that I'll get into in a little bit later. But beginning in about 1962, NASA purchased a series of chronographs, Rolex, let's see, Breitling, Omega, Rolex, and Longines, and ran them through a series of tests to see how they would handle and stand up to the elements. They wanted to see how they would run at high temperature, low temperature, temperature pressure, humidity, oxygen atmospheres, shock, decompression, high pressure, vibration, acoustic noise, and they subjected them to all of these different states of being, just to kind of see how they would handle. And the Omega Speedmaster here is the only watch that passed those NASA standards and was adopted to be worn into space in 1965. One of the more famous instances that this watch was worn in was in 1969, like I said, when Apollo 11 walked on the moon. A lot of people would think that Neil Armstrong was the one wearing it, but from my research, what I found was that he had actually taken his Speedmaster off because the lunar module's internal clock had stopped, so he hung it from some equipment in the LEM so that he could tell the time while they were on their mission. So it was actually Buzz Aldrin, the second man on the moon, was the first to wear this watch on the surface of the moon. One of the biggest changes from this Speedmaster here, the modern Speedmaster, versus the one that was actually worn in the pre-1968, was in 1968, Omega made the decision to change from the caliber 321 movement to the cheaper and more accurate 861. This watch, the 357050 Speedmaster Professional, has the Omega 1861, which has very minor differences to include rhodium plating, the addition of a jewel in 1993, so it went from a 17 jewel movement to an 18 jewel movement. So all in all, a lot of the history has been kept intact with this, and I personally think that is one of the coolest things about this Omega Speedmaster is the heritage that you share in when you wear it. I'm obviously not an astronaut, but I am a huge space nerd. I really like the Apollo missions, from the Earth to the Moon, Apollo 13, some of my favorite shows and movies, and I've read several books on it. It's just something that I really dig. So to be able to wear a part of equipment that they used in very mission critical applications, in particular Apollo 13 with their return trajectory burn, is really special to me. But enough history. Let's go a little bit into what comes with this watch when you buy it. So I bought this watch brand new from an authorized dealer, and it came in a plastic clamshell like this. Nothing too special, just a plastic bag that it was in. It has the serial number and model number here, which I'm gonna hide from you guys. But it came with this, and then it came in the traditional Omega white box, which, if you've seen these before, opens up and contains the Omega red leather box. It has a manual, and that manual is a general manual for most of their movements, and then it comes with the card wallet here. The card wallet includes the pictograms here, and these pictograms go through and sort of describe the different features of the watch. It has the caliber or the movement number in here, and then the reference number, so 35, 70, 50. And then the other card that it comes with is the international warranty, which shows the date that it was purchased and the jeweler where it came from. It also has the serial number and everything, which I am also hiding from you guys. The manual here, like I said, is a pretty general manual in many languages, and it shows here are the instructions on how to operate all the different calibers and movements, and how they all work. And it's for most of their watches. You can see they're talking about deployment buckles in here too, so you have to kind of flip through it and find the instructions on how to operate your particular movement. But it's a nice manual. I've had a few Omega watches at this point, and it's nice to be able to have that reference material in front of you, because some of the stuff like synchronizing, for example, the Speedmaster that I have is a little tricky. It is a hacking movement, but it isn't a hacking movement, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. But then you also have the Omega red case, which is pretty straightforward. The watch comes on this. Extra links if you have them removed. The bracelet came much bigger than my wrist, so I had them take a link out. I don't mess with Omega bracelets. I can size some bracelets, but not Omegas. And then, you know, it's pretty simple. These are pretty standard now. This nice leather box. So let's talk about fit and finish, or just maybe fit. This watch, I have a 7¼ inch wrist. It fits my wrist very well. Like I said, I had one link removed from it to make it a touch smaller, because it came probably for about a 7½, maybe 8 inch or 7¾ inch wrist. You can see the 42mm case looks really nice on my size frame. I wouldn't want to go a whole lot smaller than this, I do not think, but it fits just loose enough. You want to be able to fit half your thumb under the clasp when you're fitting a watch bracelet, and this fits just comfortable enough that as it heats up and cools off outside, you know, it will allow for some swelling of my wrist. Let's see. Speedmasters are available in several other sizes. Previous to this watch, I had bought a used automatic Speedmaster, coaxial Speedmaster, and that one was 44¼ millimeters. And then I've had a Speedy reduced, which was 38½. I found the 44¼ to be a difficult fit for my wrist. I got to the point where it was too tight, but if they added a link in, it was too big. So I couldn't really get it to fit that well, and that's why I sort of passed that on. And then the 38½, it had the 3 subdials along the left side and the date around the corner with a long hand that pointed to the day. It was really neat. It was the day-date model, and that was really cool. It just was too small for my frame. But the 42, the actual moon watch itself, this size, fits me quite well, and I'm very happy with it. There have been the coaxial movements now, the 9300, the 8500 movements, I think are pretty accurate and pretty reliable. I had in my coaxial Speedy, I had the 3313, which was one of the earlier coaxial movements, and it, if you look it up online, had some problems. Mine did. It would stop. And so I sent it in for a service, which is very expensive on these. It's about $700. for a chronometer, and it came back working fine, but I guess I had just kind of soured on that watch. By the time it came back from service, it was gone for a couple of months. But with this 1861 manual wind movement, it has kept very good time, slightly fast, but it was brand new. And I haven't really had any issues with it whatsoever. I just wind it when I put it on in the morning, and it stays accurate. It keeps great time. I haven't had to reset it since I bought it. It's my understanding that with watches new from the factory, a little bit of running fast is acceptable, because I guess they're anticipating a watch to slow over the time that you own it. So, you know, that's not that big of a deal. Let's see. One of the things that I think would scare some people away from the traditional moon watch is the crystal. This is not a sapphire crystal. They do make a version with the sapphire crystal. I think it's the 357350, the sapphire sandwich, and it will actually have a sapphire crystal as well as a sapphire display back, so you can see the manual wind movement inside of it. For that upgrade, you're going to pay about $1,000 more, which that's steep for me. And the thing about Hesalite, which is acrylic, it is a plastic derivative, is that it can be polished out. So you can get a tube of, they call it Polywatch, I think it's available on Amazon, and you just put a dot of it in the middle, and with a soft cloth, just rub it out in circular motions, and it will look brand new again. I have also been wearing this watch since the day I received it, just about a month, and I haven't put a mark on it. I'm not the easiest user of watches. I tend to be a little tough on them, but you can tell that there aren't really any marks to be seen on the crystal after about a month's worth of wearing. And I mean, the bracelet still looks nice and clean. The biggest wear you can see is on the clasp here, where it just has some desk diver swirls. But all in all, I really couldn't be happier with it. The 1861 movement is a classic. It has only had minor changes since its conception and adoption by NASA. Conception by Omega, adoption by NASA in 1965. Let's see. This watch has walked on the moon. It has saved people from space. It's traveled to the North Pole. It is a really cool piece of equipment, and a nice little legacy to join into, even if you're never gonna, you know, use it to the full potential that it is meant for. Let me go over a little bit of the functions before I wrap this up. I think I'm moving a little too quick, but it has 3 controls here. The top pusher starts your chronograph. You press it again to stop it, and then you can press it again to start it from the same position, or you press the bottom here to reset it. So you have the second hand. This is the second countdown here. Here at 3 o'clock, you have the minute counter. So as your second hand moves around, it will tick up minutes here. And then at the bottom down here is your hour counter. So it will tick out half hours and full hours here as well as you run your chronometer. To set the time, you would pull the crown out. And kind of what I was talking about in terms of synchronizing it with the atomic clock or something, is you want to set it to a minute before, whenever it is now, and get the second hand to 60, and then you put back pressure on the crown and the second hand will stop. So that then when the new minute rolls around, you just let go and push it in, and it is synchronized to whatever clock you happen to be syncing it to. So that's kind of cool. But anyway, guys, instead of droning on for a whole lot more, I think that this is a pretty comprehensive review. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the comments. But it's a cool watch. There's a lot of history behind it. It's a great tradition to kind of join into, and if you're a space buff like I am, you really can't you really can't get past the moon watch. I mean, it says on the back, flight qualified by NASA for all manned space missions, the first watch worn on the moon. So that's all, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Like I said, this is my first watch review. I have a couple more that I'm going to do. Between my dad and I, we have a nice little watch collection. So looking forward to your comments and any feedback you have. Thanks a lot. Aaron out of here.